Hey everybody, it's JJ Conway. I hope you all can hear me all right. We have been hold on. We have been changing a lot of things over the last couple of months, and one of them has been our audio and video setup, both here in my home office as well as in our new office downtown. So please, sir, please, ma'am, if you see something, say something. If you can't hear something, say something, but you wouldn't have heard me say that. But anywho, I'm so excited to be here with you today. We are going to be talking about one of my favoriteest things in the world for building wealth and for maintaining wealth and for growing wealth, and that is real estate investing. So, for those of you who are new to me and my body of work, my name is JJ Conway. I'll introduce myself a little more later as we get into tonight. But this is our third Thursday, which is our real estate investment Thursdays. Every Thursday, we bring you some quality content. First Thursdays is Fireside Chat, where you can ask your money questions. Our second Thursdays is usually some kind of business building education. So, how to make your first $1,000 podcasting, how to make your first $1,000 with live events, things like that, how to make your first $1,000 consulting, those kinds of classes. And then every fourth Thursday is our Empowered Entrepreneur, which is how to become the person who has what you want to have. And so, for a lot of us, it's not just the behaviors, it's also the character and it's also the energy. And many of us are people of excellent character, but perhaps we were not always taught about managing our energy and having the energy that allows us to take our lives to the next level. And so that's our four Thursdays. The fifth Thursday is usually either a wild card. Honestly, sometimes I'm like, we don't have a class schedule, so I'm just going to take time with the fam. Sometimes we do that and I do a replay or nothing. For every first Thursday, second Thursday, third Thursday, and fourth Thursday, we've got quality programming. And we're still debating on whether or not we're going to keep our Facebook group going. I find that they're not as active as they used to be when we used to be able to do lives. I don't know yet if there's other options to revive it. But if we do keep it, you can go to the Ladies of Wealth Facebook group and you can find our course schedule for the year. All right. Last thing before I get into my slides, if you are listening to me as part of the Ladies of Wealth podcast, I absolutely invite and encourage you to come participate with us live. Not all, but most of our podcast content comes from our Thursday night classes. And so we really would love to have you come on live. You can ask your questions, you can participate, and you can get first access to the content. Now, if you have questions today, let me give you the couple of ways that you can ask your question. Okay. The very first thing you can do if you are watching live is simply drop your question in the chat. Okay. And you can drop your question in the chat. Now, some of us, we really don't want to drop our questions in the chat and we don't want to come on live. You know what? Actually, I have been making that let me see. I know I did it last week. Where is it? Okay, ask your questions or post a comment. Let me push this down to the bottom because I also want to get the Global Youth Initiative up. There we go. What I normally do is I normally make this offer, and very rarely does anybody take me up on it. But I'm going to make it again because it's fun. Personally, I love asking questions live, okay? So, or answering questions live, right? So I really love it when I get to hear somebody's voice. And we used to do these calls, video as well as free conference call. That's how we started, was over free conference call. Uh, and in person in Keller Williams, Kingstown. But for me, I like that interaction of being able to talk to somebody. And so I'm finding that more and more people don't want to be on there. But if you do, oops, no, hide. I want to add this. If you do, I'm going to put the StreamYard link to today's session here. So make sure when you come on camera ready and ready to go. Got good lighting, got a good mic. And if you get a lot of feedback, make sure you plug in, okay? No shame in that game. All right, we want good quality audio or I can't use it. And I'll still answer your question, but I can't use it on the podcast. I can't use your melodious voice on the podcast if you don't have good audio. And so we do want you to do that. If you are listening to me as part of the podcast, or if you're listening to the replay or any other way, do not want to drop something in the comments or come on live, then you can go to askjjc.com and you can submit your question. Now, the podcast has a new page, y'all, ladiesofwealth.com. So in our new page, there is an ask button that you can use to fill out a contact form that will also send me your question. And y'all, this is cool. Wait a second. I got to show y'all this. I got to show y'all. Hold on. Hold on. Let me show y'all this page. Let me stop these slides for the real estate investing. I'll get them back up in a second. Let me show y'all our new page. Can I show y'all our new page? Oh, I think y'all are going to like the new page. Okay, here we go. Here goes our new page. Check this out. Okay, this is our new page. All right. And you can see at the top, it has apply to be a guest. So if you know somebody would be a great fit for the podcast, they can apply to be a guest. It has the contact information. That should say ask a question, actually, or leave a review, which I have not really been concerned about reviews, but now I'm about to be. So that contact, I do need to change that. It says ask JJC, but here's another cool thing. Take a look. Wait, why is it not on this page? Or why is it not on this view? Wait a second. Did I turn it off? What? Oh, I must have messed something up. It does it on the phone. It's not doing it on this page. There's supposed to be a little blue microphone there that will take you to this page, which says the voicemail page. You can actually leave me a voicemail of your question. So you just push the little dealie to start recording. And it says it wants to use my thing, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it right now. But you can push the recording because I don't want to mess up my StreamYard. And you can record and then you can stop recording. You can start over if you need to. Fantastic. And that way, when I answer your question, it'll actually be on the it'll actually be on your voice. Let me get my thoughts together. It will actually be your voice. Okay, so also we have apply to be a guest. So if you have something interesting to share with our audience, you can apply to be the guest. I tell you a little bit about the audience, okay, and about me. So there's all that there. Yay. Oh, I'm so happy with this page, y'all. I hope that y'all will participate and help make the page great. All right, so let's stop sharing the new page, and let's go back to our real estate investment slides, share screen. Okay. But again, I said all of that to say if you've got a question, the way to ask your question is going to be to either put a comment, fill out the anonymous form, askjjc.com, or you come on camera. Now, if you put something into the podcast, that's not going to be used for today. So you can put something into the podcast anytime, but that's not going to be used for today because I'm not going to be able to get into that system today while still maintaining the broadcast. Okay. So eventually I'll move these to the daytime and I'll have an assistant to help me manage everything. And we'll do it that way. But right now, this is what we're doing. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about real estate investing 101. Those of you who have been with me for years, this is so cool to me. The very first, the very first real estate investing classes that I taught back in, was it 2008? At Power of Deliverance Church in Clinton, Maryland. Okay, we taught real estate. We taught how to get out of debt. We taught how to pay your bills when you're broke. Like we like how to prioritize what bills to pay when you're broke. And then we taught real estate investing. We taught Think and Grow Rich. So those were the couple things. And it was Pastor Miller and Pastor Richardson at the time, two churches in one building. And then each of those churches moved out and did their own thing. But at the time, they were sharing the building. And it was such a precious time to me. Well, then I think about it, I'm like, my goodness, if you fast forward to today, right? That's 2008 to 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That's 18 years. Like, oh my goodness. And if you stop and think about when I first went into business, when I first went into business for any kind of business was 1999. And then the first people that I ever coached with their financial planning was in 1998. So that's 98 to 2008. to 2018, and then 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I was like, oh my goodness, this is my 27th year of business. I was like, wow. So we need to start planning for a 30th year bash. Okay. Now, I use the term business a little bit lightly. For the first 20, for the first 15 or so years, I think all of my financial coaching was volunteer on behalf of the ministry, just like the classes that I used to teach. It was all volunteer, it was all free. And then life happened, and I realized, hey, first of all, I got bills to pay, and I got kids who are being away from their mama. So if mama's going to be away, the family needs to benefit, right? Hey there, Dennis. Much love. The other thing that I realized is that a lot of times people don't appreciate free. And that's one of the hardest lessons for me to learn as an entrepreneur. And I don't know why I'm talking about this on a day we're going to talk about real estate, but this is going to help somebody as an entrepreneur. One of the hardest lessons I had to learn is that people don't appreciate free. Now, they don't appreciate artificially inflated prices either. So, I'm not going to go out there and tell you that my time is worth $10,000 an hour. I like to think that my time is worth $1 million an hour, but I have not yet found anybody who's even willing to pay $20,000 an hour for my time. So I'm not going to claim that yet. But the time will come with the natural progression that the longer I'm in the game, then just like people that I know who charge, 40, 50, $100,000 for a couple hours of their time, I know that I will eventually get there, right? I don't know what the Lord has for me. I don't know if He has for me to charge $100,000 an hour. That almost feels like too much. But you know what? If that makes the next person $2 million, it's not too much. Okay. I don't know. Okay, somebody needs to get on this PM or this chat or this comment or something and tell me who out there is feeling like you can't charge what you need to be charging for your business. It is heavy on my heart, y'all. I need to talk about this real estate. I promised my little one I would not be in here teaching all night because he wants mama snuggles tonight. He's got a really big day tomorrow and he wants some emotional support. So I need somebody to come through with this. I receive it. You can charge what you are worth. You can charge what you're worth. I wouldn't overinflate your prices because some people do that because people don't appreciate free. But here's the thing. It's nothing wrong with giving away. I give away a lot and I used to give away a lot. But I'll never forget the Virginia Sister Girls, I think it was, mastermind that I was in. It was their whatever group it was their very first mastermind that they ever did. And we got into that and I started having a conference and they were like, if JJ Conway gives away one more free thing, we're going to kick her out of the group. And they were like, you must charge at least $25 a pop for this conference. And I honestly didn't think anybody was going to pay. But I wasn't about to get kicked out of that group neither. So I put the ticket price on there and we had about 40 people come to the very first Women Building Wealth Together conference in 2015. About 40 people paid to come. Now, of course, all the other things that I did to book the conference, I didn't make a whole lot of money, because you got to pay for advertising, you got to pay for food, and you got to pay for this, you got to pay for that, and we did get some sponsors. One of our members, I think her name was Joy. She got a lot. She got Starbucks and everybody to bring in some this and that and the other. And then you got swag bags, and you got books, and you pay speakers and things like that. And so I didn't make a whole lot of money, but I made something. Some of you out there today, you're not making a whole lot of money, but you could be making something. And something's better than nothing. And for many of us, we're beating our head against the wall saying, why is my business not working? Why is that not working? Why am I not succeeding here? Why am I not succeeding there? But we're not even doing the basics. And if you would like to sit down with me, and have me go through your business and help walk you through, hear what you're doing and give you ideas, this is not necessarily a coaching session, because in a coaching session, we're gonna want you to kind of draw it out from within you. The reason coaching is so successful is because you are most likely to listen to you than you are to listen to me. But in a mentoring session, that's the other side of the same coin. A mentoring session is when you bring your issues to me and I tell you, here's how I solved it, here's how this person solved it, here's how this person solved this, how that person solves it, all these successful people, and then we craft a solution that works for you. So if either one of those, the coaching or the mentoring, appeal to you, shoot me a message and let me know, because somebody out there, you're leaving money on the table. And you're looking at all the people who overinflate their prices. Well, if I don't act like my time is worth $1,000 an hour, nobody's even going to pay me 100. Well, you're never going to know if your time is worth anything if you don't put it out there. Now, some of you have heard this story before, and I usually tell it from a different perspective. Okay, I tell it from the perspective from a different perspective, but today I'm going to tell you it from the perspective of, don't be afraid to just get into the market. Because when I first got into the market, when I first got into the market, I just couldn't believe that anybody was going to pay for what I was doing, what I had been doing for free for like 15 years. And I couldn't believe that anybody was going to pay to learn what I had been doing for free for a long time, and that I got information out of books in the library and things like that. Okay, so I just had a hard time believing that anybody was going to pay for me, because one of my very first business mentors, who I'm very thankful to this day. I'm not going to name him, because I always wonder if I'm part of why he got fired from the company where he mentored me from. I don't know that he actually got fired. I was told he got fired, but I didn't hear that from him. Uh, is because of helping me. Because he said point blank, he said you've got two problems. He said the first problem you got is a lack of confidence. You don't feel like you know enough. Now, if you've ever met a physicist or an engineer, unless they're bringing their data with them, and sometimes even when they are bringing their data with them, they don't often feel like they've got enough to be 100% accurate. There's always a little this, a little that, a little Heisenberg, a little Schrodinger. There's always a whole lot of things that are just one, and you're just never 100% certain. And I found that in any time that I worked with engineers and scientists, even if they had a lot of data, unless it was definitive, you know, and statistics can tell whatever story you want them to tell, right? So there's always just that hesitation. He said that's the first problem. He said you have to know that you know more than most people know. And he's like, you even went to school to do your CFP. I was in school at the time to get my CFP. And he's like, you already know more than most people know. You are climbing out of almost $1 million of debt. You already know more than most people know. And so I needed that confidence boost. But here's the other thing that he told me. Now, look, some of y'all, I live in rural Texas. I understand that what I'm about to say is going to be kind of offensive to other people who live in rural Texas, because most of the people who live around me do not look like me. If this offends you, I'm going to ask you to just pray for me and keep on watching, because we're about to get to this real estate. But I'm about to help somebody out who has been feeling like they can't possibly succeed the way that they want to succeed. And what this guy told me, he said, your other problem is people aren't looking for financial advice from young Black women. Okay. He said they are expecting their financial advice to come from old white guys. So you have that hurdle against you when they go through our referral system and your picture pops up. They automatically are dismissing you. He said, if I was you, I would take your picture off of your website. The outrage. Oh my goodness, how dare he? Oh, y'all, I had a pity party with that for all of about, I don't know, maybe about an hour. And then it was like, do you want to be right or do you want to make money? So you know what I did? I took my picture off that page. I replaced my picture with a picture of an older white guy with his business sleeves rolled up, and he's like teaching some kind of presentation or something like that. And so then I'm telling you, after I did that, my conversion rate, even after people talked to me and found out I was a female, my conversion rate went up 400%. So you can't tell me race doesn't matter. All right. Now we're not gonna have a race discussion today. Everybody in Texas, you can calm it down now. We're gonna get off race in a second, but let me tell you the real lesson in that for whoever this is that I'm speaking to today. Even though my online conversion went up 400%, and I don't argue with numbers, my internal conversion plummeted. And by internal conversion, I mean my assessment of how good I am internally. If my confidence was already low, you better believe my confidence fell down through the ground, dug about 80 floors down further. Borderline on getting real hot, because if they didn't if they didn't want me, how was I going to get up at these real estate meetings? And how was I going to get up at these networking places and say that I'm teaching people how to get out of debt and that I can help you as a financial planner? And so again, I was in this mastermind group and the ladies were like, you need to sell something. And I sold people into the conference and 40 women came and it was a wonderful first conference. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to sell something. I'm not going to give away my time for free. Y'all, I put my very first price on my little flyers when I would go to the Mid-Atlantic RIA, the Baltimore RIA, all the real investors with Sherman Ragland, all those different RIA groups that I used to be a member of on the in the DC, Maryland, DC, DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, that little area of the country. And Tammy is it Phelps, Tammy's group, the Capital City RIA, like all those groups I used to go to. My very first price, I had my little flyer, do a financial tune-up for $29. And y'all, guess what happened at $29? A whole lot of real estate investors wanted to get their financial tune-up for $29. And it got me so booked that I had to do something I love to tell my clients to do, which is if you're getting so booked at one price that you can barely breathe, raise your price. Now, for those of you who are just joining me, I am going to get to real estate, but I feel very strongly in my heart that this needs to be presented right here, right now. Okay, so we're going to get there, but I'm going to finish this thought. Okay, so when you have a price point that people are booking and they are just flooding in and you are just making money, you think but the money's coming in and your calendar is full, but you can't breathe. The next step is to raise your prices. Because if you raise your prices, oh no, I can't raise my prices. People won't pay. You're right. A lot of people won't pay, but more people will pay. And what you do is you keep raising your prices until you hit the sweet spot of where people are willing to pay. And it's just enough that your schedule is full enough, but it doesn't detract away from your other goals, like your finance goals, your family goals, your relationship goals, your self care goals, your health goals, and most importantly, your faith goals. Okay. So there's and I love, I don't know if Amazon still does this, but Amazon used to do it. When you published a book, they would show you a curve like this. Okay. And actually, you know what? I wonder if that's backwards to y'all. Does that look right to y'all? So this is 0 and this is increased price. And this is profit. Let's see if that shows out well for you guys, okay? Price versus profit. Okay, yeah, good, that's showing up, okay? So when I started down here at $29, okay, I was getting a ton of clients, but I couldn't breathe. I could barely take care of my family. So I raised my price. I raised my price to 39. Then I raised my price to 49. Then I raised my price to 79. I raised it up to 99. Living in the DC area, I raised my price in increments, about $25 increments, until I got to about 249. And that was my sweet spot. That was my sweet spot at which I was making the most. Let me put that on here. Sweet spot. I was making the most possible money with all the combinations. So I did not have as many appointments up here at 249 as I did down here at 29, but I was making way more money. And part of that was because at 29, if I'm doing a financial tune-up with you for $29, you send me your financials. I'm analyzing all that stuff. I'm looking at your insurance if you provide me that information. I'm looking at your investments if you provide me. I'm looking at the alphas and the betas and the this is and the that is, and I'm doing all that analysis, you know? I was basically taking 90 minutes to 2 hours of analysis for every client, plus an hour with them to go over what I discovered and what some best practices were for them to move forward, which would then sell them into a 6-month, a 3-month, or a 12-month plan to move forward by working with me. Yay, me, right? But if you add up all the time, let's say each average was like 4 hours total. about 2 hours of research, and then maybe another 30 minutes to 45 minutes to put all my findings together and get some thoughts and recommendations, and then another hour, an hour and a half, depending on their level of questions, to present the plan to them, and a little bit of time to sell them into working with me to execute the plan. Well, at $29, I was making less than minimum wage. I didn't start my business to make less than minimum wage, and neither did you. Okay. And so it's one of those things where we have to look at all of the things that could be hindering us. And today you might be sitting there thinking, well, I can't grow this business because I have a health issue. I have this issue, I have that issue. I can't go out and knock on doors because I can't walk really well, or I can't be consistent in my orders because I have fibromyalgia, and some days I wake up and I feel okay, and some days I wake up and I don't feel okay. You might feel like I can't commit to working my business the way I want to because my husband or my wife is works out of town a lot with an inconsistent schedule and inconsistent hours. Whatever the motivation is that tells you, no, not motivation, whatever the demotivation is that tells you you can't succeed. In my case, one of the data points that told me I was not going to be able to succeed if I stood up in front of real estate investors and said, hey, I can help you make more money from your money, and I can help you free up money for your investing. One of the things that made it hard for me, one of the things that made it hard for me to do that was taking the other guy's advice and finding out that he was right, that people didn't expect their financial advice from a young black woman. They expected it from a old white guy. And when I changed the picture on my website from a young black woman to an old white guy, even though I answered the phone clearly as feminine, they did not perceive the same issues that they had already perceived before when they wouldn't even call. And so it's very easy to take something that's giving you success in one area, but now your emotions and your feelings are saying, well, if that's true, my conversion went up 400% just by swapping the pictures out. Well, then I can't possibly do this. Yes, you can. If you're being called to do it, then go do it. Maybe you have to drop your prices a little bit more. Maybe you have to add a few extra bennies in there. One of the problems that I don't do as well in, and this is why I don't have a problem anymore buying ready-made courses. If I learn some content that really, really blesses me, and I see that somebody else has really good sales copy, or they have a good blog that goes with this course, or something like that, like Think and Grow Rich. My Think and Grow Rich class, I bought the rights to teach somebody else's Think and Grow Rich class. Now, over the years, I've made it mine, but getting started, their stuff converted more than mine. So maybe you aren't maybe you're like me. You're not really good at teasing out the benefits to make people want to pay for it. Well, I found somebody who was, and guess what? I paid to use their copy. And guess what? It's still me teaching it. It's still me. It's still my experiences and my energy and my emotion that you get when you come to the class. But you probably wouldn't have got in the class if I had just continued to use the copy that I had that wasn't selling people into the class. So maybe you don't know maybe you are like me and you've been trying to sell the steak instead of selling the sizzle. We'll find you somebody who can help you sell the sizzle, but don't forget it and say, well, I guess I can't cook. Your steaks are the best steak in town, but you feel like you can't cook because ain't nobody buying your steak. Well, you got to learn to sell the sizzle. I'm not the one to teach you that, I promise you. I just buy other people's sizzle. I'm like, ooh, that worked. Can I license that? A lot of people will license a lot of things if you give them money. Okay. So I just don't want you to be discouraged today. If you have a situation and you know that this business was put on your heart and you know you were supposed to do this, then do it. Now, it doesn't mean that things don't change. Okay. I've noticed a trend with a lot of people like me who professionally speak, and then we offer coaching and mentoring, and we offer all these courses and all these other things, right? There's been a shift in that landscape. And the things that brought us money in 2018 and the things that brought us money during COVID, they don't bring us money the way they used to. So you have to shift your business. So maybe you shift your business, okay? But don't give up on your dream. Don't give up on your business. Okay. If you have something, if you really have something, I encourage you go into prayer and ask the Lord to show you where your sweet spot is. And maybe it's not a financial sweet spot. Maybe it's a time thing. And like, I keep what keeps coming to me is health. Like I gave you an example of where I felt like my race and the response to people about my race really hindered me because I let it hinder me for a long time, longer than I should have, rather than just learning what everybody else does. I mean, if you've ever been to the All Black National Conference or the Power Networking Conference, you will find so many strategies that people of color use to help elevate their businesses in the eyes of the people that have the money. I'm like, wow, okay. But that was just my journey. Maybe your journey, I keep feeling this is like a health journey. And you're like, well, everybody says I can have a 4-hour work week, but I can't even put 4 hours, I can't even put 4 minutes a day on my business. Well, then maybe you craft your business in a way that you don't have to. Maybe you restructure your business, and instead of doing what this person does and doing what that person does, you do what you can do. Maybe, excuse me for a second. Because now I have this mic here. I feel like I can't turn away from it. Sorry, y'all. Maybe instead of, this person has a t-shirt. I'm going to use t-shirt business because one person I know with a fairly significant disability, she ran a successful t-shirt business for a while until she quit all that to take care of her mom. Maybe no, no, maybe you have a debilitating disability and you can only function for maybe a couple hours a day on a good day, and in that couple of hours that you can function, maybe you have you know house stuff that needs to be done, some bills that need to be paid and all those things. Okay, so you know that you can't put 2 hours a day towards your business. Now personally, I think most of us, if we will be honest with ourselves, those of us who are able-bodied at full strength and full mind, we could probably put 3 or 4 hours a day towards our business, but we're scrolling it away and we're watching it away on the TV. Okay, that's a whole other conversation. But let's just say you can. What can you do in your business so that you can still do your business in the time, energy, health, and strength that you have to do your business? And in her case, one of the things that she did was she simply batched her orders. And she didn't know if she was going to have a good day tomorrow. She didn't know if she was going to have a good day the next day. But she knew that in any given week, she was going to have at least 1 or 2 good days in any given rolling week. So she structured her deliverability of her products so that people would know not to expect them tomorrow. And, she put on there, 5 to 7 days or whatever she put. I don't remember, but it was like 5 to 7 days delivery or 7 days till shipping or something like that. And you know what she didn't do? She didn't offer an expedite because she did not want the stress of having to wake up in the morning and somebody's paid an extra $30 to expedite a t-shirt, and then she doesn't have the health and strength to do it. And you say, well, how could anybody make a business if they don't do this? Because you're competing against Amazon, you're competing against this, and you're competing against that. There are ways to distinguish yourself in the marketplace so that people will go to you first before they'll go to Amazon, and before they'll go to this, and before they'll go to that. And so I have the capacity to make t-shirts now for myself. But if I needed a t-shirt made, I wouldn't go downtown to here or there anywhere. I wouldn't go online to Amazon print on demand. I would go to her. If I couldn't do it myself, I would go to her when I need it to be done right. And I know that sometimes I don't always do everything right. I get it done fast, fast, neat, and easy. What is it? Fast, right, and easy. You can get two of them. You can pick two. What I'm saying is you can find ways to distinguish yourself. Okay. Maybe you're somebody today who you make the wreaths or any kind of craft. Crafting is what keeps coming to me. Somebody out there who's crafting, and you have a lot of health struggles, okay? And so if that's you, I hope that you'll let me know. And if it's not you and you can use this, I hope that you'll let me know. Especially when we turn this into a podcast, I hope that you'll go to Ladies of Wealth and write a review about how much it helped you, all right? And how much money you made after you listened to this, all right? But let's say you make crafts, you make the big pretty wreaths, and you have the health challenges. Well, if you find a way to distinguish yourself in the marketplace and do something nobody else around you is doing for the audience that you know wants it, they will buy your wreaths, even if they have to wait for you to have a good day. Now they're not going to wait for 2 months, okay? So you don't want to build a business that you can't fulfill in a week or two. But maybe there's a different type of business that you can do. Maybe when you're having good days, you can teach classes on how to make the wreaths, and then you can sell those on your own schedule, and people can watch them and buy them on their own schedule. There's so many other things that you can do. And sometimes all it takes is sitting down with somebody like me who's got that experience, and I've done all these different things, and I've had, look, this is my 17th business. That means I had 16 others that did not work out, or I had a couple that I sold. Okay. But this is the one that stuck. Okay. So because I've done all these things and I've had so many clients, and I've taken note of what worked for them and didn't, I can sit down with you and we can brainstorm that thing. I'm telling you, you give me about 40 minutes and we can have a whole new plan for you. Okay. And so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure you reach out to me, and we can get you scheduled for that strategy session, that mastermind session. Okay. So, so 36 minutes into our broadcast today, which I think that's probably going to end up being our next Mindset Monday. Our next, we're thinking about changing it to Millionaire Mindset, but I like Mindset Mondays, but we're thinking about it. That's probably going to end up being our next Mindset Monday. So if you're listening to this as part of the podcast, I really encourage you to come join us on our Thursday night classes, because even when the topic has defined topic, sometimes the Lord just leads me to teach what people need to be taught. All right. And so tonight's real estate, we're going to get into real estate. If those of you are jumping in who are on time, if you can hang with me, I appreciate you. And if not, the replay should be up for quite a while. And we are getting ready to I'll tell you about that in the slides. I'll pull the slides up. We are getting ready to relaunch our course portal, where all of these classes and all of the follow-on workshops are housed. So I'm super excited, and we're getting ready to do that. But right now, we're going to go into our real estate investing 101. And you'll notice that it's debt free. For those of you who don't know me, I teach debt free real estate investing. I'll explain more about that once we get through the slides. Okay. I also want to announce, we've got a couple of announcements before we get into the lesson. Those of you who have been watching this lesson every time I've taught it for the last, 13 years? This is our fundraiser for John Maxwell's Global Youth Initiative. So we host Global Youth Initiative of the Architects Global Youth Initiative Northwest Louisiana in October, and we do Global Youth Initiative Erath County, Texas in April. And so this class, all of my real estate investing 101 classes are actually a fundraiser. So if you like anything that I've taught today, or you like any of the slides, if you screenshot a slide, shoot me $1. All right. Shoot me $1 for every slide you screenshot. Shoot me $1 for every point that makes you go, shoot me $100. I'll take it. You can go to bit.ly/lovehelping. Or if you like PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App, each one of those has their pitfalls. So I'm not saying anything's wrong with you if you don't use them. All right. But if you like those, you can do those for Queen of Cash Flow. Now, my church, which we have not had our business meeting yet, but I'm pretty sure they're going to vote to support the Global Youth Initiative, because we've been supporting it for the last 8 years, right? We have applied for our 501c3 status. And once that is finalized, they will be our fiduciary for receiving donations, where you can then claim those on your taxes if you itemize. But for now, PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App, Queen of Cash Flow, and bit.ly/lovehelping. In fact, I think I have a banner for that right there. All right. So I'm going to leave that up for a little bit, and then I'll put the questions back on. But while I'm doing the announcements, I'll leave that one up. Okay. There we go. Global Youth Initiative of Northwest Louisiana and Global Youth Initiative of Erath County, Texas. These are the things that we teach the kids. The biggest thing that a lot of these kids walk away from is they come away understanding that they are beautifully, fearfully, and wonderfully made just the way they are. And it's really a blessing. There are so many kids that come to these classes, and they realize that their issues with their family hasn't been because people don't love them or they don't love their family. It's because their family are a bunch of square pegs, and they're around. I had one family one time. It was a I did personality disc personalities on all six of the family members, except for the youngest was too young. The seventh was too young. But of those six family members, they were all the same personality type except for one child. And that one child was exasperating everybody else. But what that one child learned is that they're just built different. And because they're built different, they have a skill set that's valuable and useful to the family. And the rest of the family needed to learn that too. Okay. And some of y'all have heard that story. I really want to tell the whole story, but I'm not going to. So let me go ahead and put this up because I got to get into this today. Woo. Okay. So announcements. Okay. I don't know if I already said this, but just in case, we have launched the new Ladies of Wealth podcast website. So we had one, but this is a new one where you can actually go out there and interview. And for those of you who've been on the podcast, we haven't done interviews in probably about a year. I still look. If you interviewed with me 2 or 3 years ago and I still haven't published your interview, I'm so sorry. Some of them I have, and we just haven't pushed it because either there was an issue with the audio quality or something happened with the photo, or, I actually have some really good interviews with people who aren't in business anymore. And I'm just like, what do I do with that? They're like really good interviews. And so we are trying to get those all out of the queue. And we've gotten enough of them out of the queue that I feel okay about taking new. But I didn't want to take on a whole lot of new people when I had all the backlog. Like I didn't feel like if it was me. Well, actually, wait. A lot of people have me on their podcast, and then they get mad that I talk about debt-free real estate investing. So then they never publish that episode, and I understand because that really defeats what they're selling. But in my case, there's only been one guy in the, let's see, since 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. In the 8 years we've been doing the Ladies of Wealth podcast, which used to be called the Building Wealth Together podcast. In the 8 years of the podcast, there's been one guy who I was like, nope, not going to have you. Delete, not even going to process that. Delete from the server. He was so rude. Woo, he was so rude. Like, how you gonna be rude to me and expect me to help you sell stuff? I get it. Negging is a thing in dating. It is not a thing on the JJ Conway podcast. All right. So back to the slide. Back to the slide. Okay. So if you have something really great to share, feel free to come on the podcast, and we would love to interview you and talk to you and have you talk to the audience. And keep in mind, it is a primarily Christian evangelical Christian audience, very open-minded evangelical Christians. Though I like to think that people on my podcast are very my podcast audience is very tolerant and open-minded, but they're also very strong in their faith, and mostly professional women. And you are not coming on my podcast talking about debt, and you're not coming on my podcast talking down about women who choose to stay at home. Okay, because I've been a professional work outside the home mom, and now I'm a work inside the home mom. But even my work inside the home, my family comes first. So if I have to choose between getting the business done and my family taken care of, my family's going to win, and the business is not going to get done. Okay, because that's not my focus. My focus is my family. All right, and so we're not going to come on here and dog that out. Okay, why am I saying this stuff today? This was not part of the plan. Oh my goodness. Okay. Also, we're going to have our Ladies of Wealth Mastermind in March. The one in December kind of got, the one in December that we were supposed to have in Tampa ended up getting moved to Stephenville because of reasons. But we are going to be March. Oh, let me pull it back up. I do believe it's March the 20th. It's the Thursday after John Maxwell. The John Maxwell Conference is the 17th through 19th of March. And the Ladies of Wealth Mastermind will be down in Tampa the 20th of March. It'll be a midday conference. Okay. Then also Juneteenth Legacy will be in Dallas. That'll be June 18th, 19th, and 20th. So for Juneteenth, the format is the evening, that Wednesday evening is a meal. Thursday conference, and then that Friday is our Black Veterans Brunch. So we're specifically talking about Black veterans issues as part of Juneteenth. All are invited, but we're specifically talking about Black veterans issues that Friday. Okay. That's going to be in Dallas this year. All right. If you're interested, you can. If you're interested, I don't know that we have an application page for the Ladies of Wealth Mastermind yet. That's probably a good thing for me to put on the new website for the podcast. Oops. But we do have, if you go to juneteenthlegacy.com, you can actually apply without having to email me and hope I get it. Okay. I'll get it. I just may not respond really quickly. All right. So I am so excited. I was hoping I would have it all done by today, but I didn't. We're revamping our Dart RIA. And for years, we were trying to get the Dart RIA off the ground to be a place where people could talk about debt-free real estate investing techniques. But we have a new branding coming. We have all kinds of new goodness. You are going to love it. And so one of the things that I am looking for real estate investment teachers and mentors, or just real estate investors who are willing to share their stories and help encourage newbies. I am looking for people like that to join hands with me in helping making real estate investment education accessible to all. The only requirements that I have to become one of my teachers and mentors, okay, is you need to have done the thing, okay? You can't come teach this group and you've never bought a property, or you've never been a realtor, or you've never been a stager, or you've never been a contractor. You actually have to have had some verifiable with your tax return success in executing or making money through real estate, whether you buy it or not. Okay. So that's qualification number one. Qualification number two is very simple. You just got to know we don't teach debt on my campus. We don't teach leveraging debt. We don't teach promissory notes. We don't teach OPP. The most that we will allow is joint ventures. As I do love me a good joint venture. You got the money and I got the time. Let's partner it up. But let's have it a defined partnership. You know, they say the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. But let's have a defined joint venture where my LLC and your LLC are getting together and having a party, very defined terms. And at the end of that term, I buy you out with a very nice buyout, and or you buy me out with a very nice buyout. But we're not loaning this thing. We're in it together. We profit or lose together. Not I'm going to owe you, because I don't need that over my head at night. Okay. So I do like joint ventures. I'm happy to talk about joint ventures, but we're not going to teach people how to do something that only works for a couple people and fails for most people. Okay. So, and I'll touch on that on another slide, my opinion about debt. Okay. Because I don't want y'all to think I'm unlearned here. Okay. This is our schedule. Every third Thursday is our real estate schedule. So we're going to, January's real estate investing. Next month will be wholesaling 101. March will do driving for dollars 101. Now, if you are in my real success mentoring program, you are already getting the videos when I go out driving for dollars with my clients and things like that. Okay. In fact, we just did one 2 weeks ago. I think it's still being processed. I had a client come in and I showed her around town. We went driving for dollars. And oh yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, because this week we would have done the research, but she wasn't available. So we'll do that next week. So it was a week ago. But once we sit down and do the research, then I will put all that in a video. And that's the kind of thing that you get when you're in the real estate. When you're in the real success mentoring program. In exchange for you getting to see her session, she got a very reduced price for her session. So that's the kind of thing that we do. We can always accommodate any, people say, well, I can't this and I can't that. I always find a way to accommodate people as much as I can. You do always have to have some skin in the game, right? But but we can find a way to craft a solution so that you can get the education you need. Because I remember what it was like to be $800,000 in debt. Now, you're not going to come to me and tell me you need me to do free coaching in exchange for being able to broadcast it to my students throughout the campus. And then the next thing I see, you done dropped $2,000 on going to the big game. Okay. So we're not gonna do that. All right. I really, oh my goodness, I can tell I'm tired because I'm saying stuff. But seriously though, we can always find a way. The driving for dollars in March is going to be for everybody, but we do. If you're in that program, you've seen the tax sales, you've seen all the other things that I've done behind the scenes, or that I've done one on one with clients who have allowed me to share it with you. We're going to talk about foreclosure consulting again this year. We're going to do self-directed IRAs, creative financing, commercial. We're going to talk about private lending, and then we'll go into our end of the year. We usually do Think and Grow Rich and Countdown to Your Best Year Ever. So those are the classes that we're going to do. We're not doing that. I meant to hide that one. Okay. And this slide talks about who I am. If you're listening to the Ladies of Wealth podcast, again, I encourage you to come on live with us Thursdays. But just so you see, just so you can hear what's on the slide, I've been helping people get out of debt since 1998, and I've been investing in real estate since I bought my first property my first home that I actually lived in 1999. Then we got all too big for our britches, and we thought we were going to do what all the other real estate investors do, and that is we over leveraged and we used other people's money and we brought debt back into our lives because we thought real estate debt is always good debt. And the old adage, a house doubles in value every 10 years. Well, not so fast, not so fast. When the dust settled after the real estate market crashed in the mid 2000s, I ended up with 800 something thousand dollars of divorce debt, most of those being upside down properties. And so for me to go from that position to now being a financially secure stay-at-home mom, I feel like the process I used works. And that's why I now empower women, especially women and a few good men, to have the financial freedom they need to live their highest life, their fullest calling through financial investment education. Okay. So does it mean that other things don't work? Sure, sure, sure. Debt has worked for quite a few people. You know who debt has really worked very well for? Debt has worked super well for all the people that want to teach you how to real estate invest with debt so you'll buy their $1,000 courses and line their pockets with course money instead of actually helping you buy a house. Oh, I said it. I said what I said. All right. So, my method of investing in real estate, I want you to get out of debt and stay out of debt. I'm not going to teach you how to leverage that. Now, I am going to teach you how leveraging debt works because when you go to a real estate investment class in your local neighborhood, which is what I recommend people do, I don't want you to be misinformed. I don't want you to be ignorant of what everybody else is talking about. I want your real estate education to be complete. So I will share those strategies and what other people are doing so you understand it. But I hope you saw the slide where I talked about $845,000 of debt. Okay. Debt can work. Debt has absolutely worked for some people. And in the future, debt will continue to work for very few, but it will work. The thing that I have against debt is even when it comes to building your own personal wealth, debt based strategies, they work for some people some of the time. The debt free strategies that I teach work for all the people all the time. And so if I have to choose, how am I going to help people? I'm going to choose to help people all the time. You follow the process, you will be wealthy. You follow the process, you will have peace. You follow the process, your properties, your investments, your finances will be a blessing and not a cursing. You follow the other guy's process, I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee it. It could work, it might not work. It usually doesn't work. You know what? And then they come to me as a financial planner and say, JJ, I'm in this mess. Help me get out. So, you know, again, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about real estate. Why do I recommend real estate? I really feel that real estate investing, whether you are buying the property or not, is one of the fastest ways to build wealth ethically. I also feel that real estate is great because there are a lot of different ways to profit from real estate. And in those many of ways, you get the profit from the real estate in the moment that you buy it, hopefully, if you buy it right. Then you also get property value from it appreciating over the time that you own it or control the property. And so for me, real estate's a great, great vehicle. Okay. Tonight, we're going to talk about 20 different ways to profit with real estate. Now, of course, I am not digging deep into any of these. Okay. Tonight, I'm just going to cover them. And then we have classes in our we have classes on our agenda, okay, that we're going to go through. Now, if you look at our agenda for the year and you think, well, gee, I would really like to learn more about um, new construction. Okay. If somebody really wanted to dig into new construction, if I had enough clients that really wanted to dig into new construction, we could switch something out or we could add a special class just for that. Okay. But for now, the topics that we have for this year are the ones that people most often want to know about. Okay. Out of these 20 plus ways that you can profit from real estate, these ones here that I have highlighted in blue. And so for those of you listening on the podcast, you can't see the slide. I encourage you to go out to at JJ Knows the Way on YouTube, and you'll be able to see this slide. Oh, I just realized my slides still say building wealth together. I got to fix that and change it to ladies of wealth. But you'll see bird dogging, wholesaling, lease to own, deal making, foreclosure consulting, things like that. Okay. Those are ways to profit without buying the property. Technically, you could profit from land, and if you know if you're really savvy, you could profit from flipping without buying the property. But those are very esoteric, niche areas to profit from without actually acquiring the property. Okay, but when we talk about land, profiting from land without buying the property, I put that under deal making. Okay, rather than land investing. Okay. All right, so those are the ones there. And then the next category that we have here, I'm highlighting in green. The next category there, I'm highlighting in green, and I will name those for the people who are on the podcast listening after the fact. Those are bird dogging, wholesaling, lease to own, deal making, foreclosure consulting, subject to, um, excuse me, a virtual assistant, and ancillary services. Ancillary services, we'll explain that a little bit later, but in case you got to drop off because we started late, ancillary services are things that help the real estate investing process, but they're not actually buying the house. Okay. So all of those things that I just listed, those are things that you can make good profit from when you don't even have any money. Okay. So if you're broke, this is where you start. That's why we talk about it first. Okay. So before we get into describing them, I'm going to do a little bit of foundation. Kind of already talked about this, but I want to emphasize this second bullet. Okay. There's a lot of ways to make money in real estate. Let me put it on me so you can see me. There's a lot of ways to make money out there. Real estate is just one of them. There are a lot of different business opportunities you can have. In fact, network marketing companies, super exciting for a lot of people. They have the personality and it just works, but a lot of people don't have the personality. Now, if you are looking for an opportunity to get in one of those networking companies on the ground floor, I've got a fantastic one for you. I'm going to talk about it a little later. No monthly minimums, no website fees, no minimum orders, no buy-in. Like you don't even have to buy your business package of your materials and everything. That's already provided for you. All you got to buy is the supplements to try them yourself. Okay, because you shouldn't sell something you can't try, right? But it's the best opportunity that I've ever seen. And I feel like somebody did it right. And so even though I'm not a fitness guru, I'm like, you know what? I'm signing up for that. I'm going to bring as many people into that as I can and help nurture them and grow them so that they can be successful in their business without spending any upfront cash. Okay. That's Make Fitness. You can go to jjclink.com/make to find out more about that. Okay. But when it comes to all these different things in the world that you could do to make money, some work for this person, some work for that person. Real estate works for a lot of people and it's repeatable, which means if you if you if you make money with a viral video today, I can't guarantee you're going to make money with another viral video tomorrow. That's not repeatable. Okay. When I was in Mary Kay, and I love Mary Kay products. I still buy them from somebody else today. But when I was in Mary Kay for a couple of years, I made really good money. But one of the reasons I made really good money is our church didn't have any other Mary Kay ladies, Mary Kay independent beauty consultants. They didn't have anybody else. And so I would offer a discount. My discount was 50%. I would offer them 30% off. Do you think people feel that? People filled those orders every month. Y'all, my team lead got her pink Cadillac. And then I moved. And I moved to a place where there was four other ladies, independent consultants, four other Mary Kay ladies in the same church. And guess what? My little strategy was not enough to overcome their relationships. My strategy worked in that situation, but it was not repeatable. Okay. Repeatable means it works everywhere all the time. When you do the same things, you get the same results. And a lot of business stuff out there is not repeatable, but real estate is repeatable. Okay. And in fact, here's one of the funny things about really exciting, super sexy things that people do. And like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. This is so cool. This is so new. A lot of times they ride that wave too hard and then they end up crashing and they don't use sound financial principles because they think it's always going to be more and more and more and more. And then they don't, because how do I want to say this? The personality that's attracted to those things is the same personality that's not likely to put anything aside, if I can say it like that. And so then they end up worse, you know? All right. And we don't want anybody to end up worse. I want people to end up better. Okay. All righty. So the number one rule of real estate investing is that you make your money when you buy. I'm going to say it one more time. You make your money when you buy. One more time for the people in the back. You make your money when you buy. That means when you sign on that dotted line and you put that renter in the house, or you do this or you do that, you have already made some profit. Think back, for those of you who have been investing in real estate, it hasn't been working out for you. Think back to the deals that you've made where you thought, oh, well, the property will eventually appreciate, so it's okay if I take a little bit of a loss now. No. No. No, 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 no. Nope on a rope. All right. If you're in your own house and you bought it properly, it will appreciate. That's part of your wealth strategy. I love it. But when it comes to investment property, you make your money when you buy. That means when you walk away from that closing table, you have your profit methods in hand. Okay. And a property at 70, 80% cost of value will absolutely make you money because even if you can't do anything with it, you can turn around and sell it to another investor very quickly if you acquire it at that low of a cost. Okay. Which, it sounds simple, but it's not easy because you know what? If it was easy, everybody be doing it. All right. So if you don't have a whole lot of money, then we encourage you to start over here. This is what I call the time money continuum. I need to update it. I don't want to go through the effort to update it. But this is what I call the time money continuum. And you've gotta understand that there's different types of investors. Some investors have more time than money. Other investors have more money than time. The investor who has more money than time is willing to pay handsomely the investor who has more time than money. So by bird dogging and wholesaling and some of the tax lien strategies, you can take a little bit of money and turn it into a lot of money. And on many of these strategies, you are actually helping an investor who has way more money, but you are adding value to them because you are saving them time. Okay. And some of these you'll see are on here twice, like private lending is on here twice. And we'll talk about that more when we get to the private lending lesson. Okay. All right. So first I'm going to start with bird dogging. Now, it is already 10 o'clock. We have already been broadcasting for an hour. Those of you who are just now joining us, what happened was, I got to talking about your pricing. So if you have a business and you struggle with adequate pricing in the marketplace, then you want to go back and listen to the beginning, even though it wasn't talking about real estate. Okay. So what I'm going to try to do, we already have a problem with me taking too long to teach this lesson when I don't start an hour late. Okay. I didn't start an hour late. I just talked about something else. um, I am going to go very quickly through these. If you have a question or if I go too fast, then please put something in the chat. I am trying to do more of the less is more style of teaching. Okay. If it's something you want more details about, make sure you tell me so in the chat or a PM. Okay. Bird dogging is the first one we're going to start off with. Bird dogging is simply finding a property that might be a profit center for another investor. You're basically finding a property where the person might want to sell it and they might be a motivated seller, and then you are connecting that address, the address, contact information, whatever you can find about that property, you are giving that to another investor who will then pursue the deal, and if they close the deal, they will compensate you for your role in helping them find the deal. Okay. Some states like Florida forbid this, okay? And there's creative ways around it, and pay your bird dogs as lead generators and other things like that, okay? Maybe you get a part of the equity with a buyout, a specified buyout, something like that. But please be aware that you don't really have any protections with bird dogging other than the integrity of the investor. But if you're new to this, then I would start there. I used to pay my bird dogs when I before I became a realtor and I was using bird dogs. I used to pay them $5 per property and then $25 if they got me the actual contact information. But you drove around your neighborhood, you found a property that matched my criteria. You just saved me time for having to drive around your neighborhood. So I'm going to pay you a little something for that. Now, this was 2007 or 8, so $5 went a lot further than it goes now. You might want more money. Okay. That's bird dogging. I prefer that people, once you've gotten your feet wet and you kind of understand the values of real estate, I prefer that people go to wholesaling, which is like taking bird dogging to the next level. Because in bird dogging, you find the property, but in wholesaling, you actually negotiate with the seller and you actually come to an agreement on what they are willing to sell it for. You lock down the price with a contract. And what you do is you assign that contract or sell that contract to another investor. Okay. If you are able to do this and the investor looks at the contract you've got and they say, oh, this is a great deal, I'm going to go ahead and close on this deal. Well, you've just saved that investor a huge amount of time and energy because now they didn't have to find the property and they didn't have to negotiate with the seller. They didn't have to create the deal out of thin air and they didn't have to lock down the terms of the contract. That's a whole lot of rigmarole that person didn't have to do. And like I said, an investor who has more time can turn their time into money by leveraging their time to be of assistance to an investor who has more money. And that investor who has more money will compensate you for the time that you put into negotiating that deal and locking it down with a contract. If I have 3 emails in my box and one of them is an assignment deal, it's already been locked down in a contract and I can look at it and the basic numbers work, and the others are are possible leads from a bird dog with 2 addresses in a place that I kind of like to buy in, I'm going to put my attention on the one that's already locked down in a contract. I don't have to negotiate with that person. I don't have to do anything anymore. I just have to close the deal. I like that. In fact, I teach the wholesaling class. Somebody asked me one time, like, you don't even really like to wholesale much. Why do you teach a whole class on wholesaling? Because I like when wholesalers bring me deals. Feed me, y'all. And so, for me, I personally find that that was a great way to get started. And I think it's a wonderful way to get started because you're basically creating money without having to spend a whole lot of money out of your own pocket. All right. Keep in mind with wholesaling, you're not actually closing on the property. Okay. So I want to make sure we get that down. If I find a property and I lock it down with a contract, I don't actually close on that property. I sell or assign my interest in that property in that contract or whatever the languaging needs to be for your jurisdiction to somebody else. They close on the property. All right. They get the funding for the property. I don't have to get the funding of the property. All I have to do is make sure that when they get ready to close that property, they got my name on that HUD so that I can get my check. All right. We're going to talk more about what makes successful wholesaling when we let me go back when we do the wholesaling 101, which is actually next month's class. All right. So tax sales right now, tax sales is my favorite thing that I'm doing. I really want to get into note buying. I thought this was going to be the year I get into note buying, but I'm still on tax sales. I'm probably going to do tax sales for the rest of my life because it's just such a good lucrative thing to do, and it's something you can do remotely, and it's small dollar amounts. Okay. The way that tax sales work, whether you're in a tax lien state, a tax deed state, or a tax certificate state, the way that sales tax works is if somebody doesn't pay their property tax, the county or parish will sell that property tax to an investor. And the investor either gets back their money with interest when the homeowner redeems, or if that homeowner never redeems, that investor gets an opportunity to acquire the property. Okay. And there's different kinds of tax liens, I mean, different kinds of tax sales. So in some states like Maryland, you have a lien. You get a lien against the property, which means if you owe, now I don't want to use you because I want you to succeed, right? Let's say Mary owes $2,000 on her tax. And I, as the investor, I go into the tax sale and I pay off the $2,000 tax. I now have a $2,000 plus legal fees and whatever lien and whatever interest the county promises me lien against her property. She cannot sell that property. It cannot transfer to heirs. None of those things can happen with that property until I'm made right. That lien has to be satisfied. Okay. If they don't redeem and I want the property, I can foreclose. You know what? I'm giving too much detail. Let me wrap that up. We have a tax lien class that's coming up in a couple months. We will give more details on that. If you would like more details on tax sales before then, you can go out to YouTube. I'm pretty sure last year's video is still up. I'm going to get better about pulling them down, though. Let me just warn y'all, I'm going to get better about pulling these videos down because I just discovered that StreamYard, it used to pull the video when you pulled the recording. It doesn't do that anymore. I'm not complaining, but I was like, wait a second, why is all this stuff still out there? No wonder people aren't buying as much as they used to. They can get it for free. I wouldn't buy it either. Okay, anyway, there's tax liens, you get a lien against the property. Tax deeds, you're actually buying the property. You get the deed to the property. They have a redemption period, but if they don't redeem, you evict them because it's your property. Okay, tax certificates, I think Louisiana is the only one that does this. You get a percentage of ownership. Okay, it's a percentage of ownership and it can go from 1% to 100% of ownership. Okay, when I started out in tax sales, I started in Maryland, which is a tax lien state. Then I moved to Louisiana, which is a tax certificate state. And now I live in Texas, which is a tax deed state. So I am getting experience in all of them. And last year I drafted a book. Hopefully it should have been published already by now, but hopefully it'll be published soon on the different types of tax sales. All of them have different pitfalls and all of them have different strategies. But to me, if you're able to do sound research and you're not afraid of some of the potential losses, this can be a very good strategy for you. Okay. I put down here Ned Carey. He's the guy. I think he's still in Baltimore area. I haven't asked him, but you can find him on Bigger Pockets. Ooh, I forgot to post about this to Bigger Pockets. Uh-oh. You can well, I better go backtrack that one. I'll post a replay. You can meet Ned on Bigger Pockets. He's the guy that actually taught me how to do tax liens. I learned about them from somewhere else, but then he came to my Building Wealth Together group and taught about tax liens. And I was like, oh, wow, no wonder I haven't made any money with this. So if you're in the DMV, try to meet Ned. He's a great guy and he has a lot of experience with those. I don't know too many people out here. Out in the Dallas Fort Worth area, Lexington Wright. She's the one that had walked me through. And in fact, I probably shouldn't say this live, but I'm actually looking to see if she'll have some coaching spots opening up to kind of coach me through doing some of our Texas tax because I understand the process and some of the ones online and versus some of the ones at the courthouse. I'm still kind of sometimes it's just nice to have somebody that you can look over their shoulder. How many of you have been, you don't have to say it, but you can if you want to. You want to give me some kudos. How many of y'all been in my look over your shoulder classes where you just come in and you watch what I do and you get that confidence to do it, you know? And so she's investing in some places where I get a little uncomfortable about investing where I can't, where it's sight unseen. And she's got a really good strategy for that. Her name is Lexington Wright, and she is based in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. But other than that, I really don't have good references for you all on these, but you can find somebody at your local real estate investment group. Okay, clearly I'm taking too long on each of these. So, new construction. Okay, new construction is basically when they're building a new house or a new office building or a new subdivision or anything where it's brand new. There's different ways to approach new construction. And the first way is understanding that new construction gets built in phases. So if you get in on the ground floor at the initial phase, then you will be able usually to profit by time that house gets finished getting built. The momentum and the interest will have peaked and your prices usually go up. And so a lot of people, there's a lot of people when I first got started, not as much today, but a lot of people when I first got started in real estate investing, they would put a down payment on a new, they put like maybe $1,000 on a new construction house, and then by time that house was finished, instead of closing on it, they sold their interest in it and pocketed like 10 to 15,000. I don't think the market is that hot for this anymore, but that's something that people used to do, and I'm sure it'll come back. That's what I just talked about. Okay. The other way is to use new construction as a hold for rentals. I'm a little squeamish about this, but I know somebody who made it work, so now I teach it. I used to not teach it because you pay full price, and I'm like, I don't want you paying full price for nothing. But if you can pay full price and get a property that's going to have minimum maintenance needs, and that you're going to have somebody who, for the first year, everything's under warranty, that might be beneficial to somebody who's new to real estate and doesn't really want to deal with any kind of maintenance issues and stuff, or you moved to a new town and you don't want to build. No, I didn't say that wrong. I said that wrong. You moved to a new town and you haven't yet built your team. So rather than try to have a 20-year-old house where something's going to break every other month, you just go with the new construction. And the person I know who did this became financially independent with just like 4 or 5 properties. She bought brand new office condos and rented them out as executive housing and used 100% of her profits to pay them all off. And they were all paid off in 12 years. Okay. So amazing, amazing, amazing. Not for me, because it's not my style, but it's amazing. All right. All right. Flipping. A lot of us have heard about flipping. This is where you take a one property that's at a discount, you fix it up, and you quickly resell it. A lot of people make it sound like it's so easy, but there are some shows that you can watch that show the reality of it. With flipping, you definitely want to make sure you've done your research and that you have a good investor network to help you pull it off, because sometimes your flips, if you price them properly, they'll sell well retail. But if they don't sell retail, you want to be able to sell them to another investor quickly. Okay. And some investors get their start buying flipped properties from investors who took on that heavy lifting. So it can be a win win. It can absolutely be a win win. Okay. Here's an example of one that we did. I will tell you more about this deal in my private lending 101. No, 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 no. Actually, I think it's the wholesaling. Wait. Oh, no, no, no. Okay. Well, we'll talk about it here. This is the deal that caused me to actually start investing on my own instead of always being with other people. Okay. I'll just give you that headline up front. This particular investor raised 150,000 from private lenders. It's not my preferred method of raising funds anymore after this experience. Okay. She went and bought this house for $93,000. $93,000. Okay. And then she put 50 into it. All right. Now that 50 included her holding costs. And so we figured, so now it's October. You can see how beautiful the house has been renovated. Um, the anticipated sales price was 204,000. Even after she buys out her at that price point, even if she buys out her investors, which is their original 150K plus what she owed them for the interest, which was 12%. Okay. She still would have 43,000 profit and for just 5 months of work. Okay. So you rinse and repeat that and you keep going. You can live off of 2 houses a year when you're making $43,000 a time. Right. Except, except, except who I don't think she's on today. I was doing analysis with this while we were in the middle of it. I was teaching the real estate class and I had not told y'all, I hadn't told the students in the real estate class that this was a deal I was partnered in. Okay. Because I was still iffy about the whole the whole pooling our money thing together. So many people have done it, but to me, it just felt like too much debt. But in this case, I wasn't taking debt; I was participating in debt, so I was a little squeamish about it, just trying to get myself out of debt. And I was like, "Well, this is an opportunity to make more now." If y'all remember, the markets had crashed; everything had crashed. So I was trying to make more money with less risk. I'm literally teaching this class. I'm using this as a use case. My students start running the calculations and somebody's like, wow, they really overbuilt this house. They put too much money into this house. This house isn't going to sell for what they're asking. And and it's online. So this was before COVID was a thing, but we were still online. So my heart sank because I'm doing the calculations with them as I'm teaching them how to do the calculations. I don't know why I hadn't done it beforehand, but I guess I was busy and I just figured we'd do it on the fly as a real world example. And my heart sinks. And they're like, yeah, whoever did this, it's not going to sell. Y'all, y'all, y'all. It didn't sell. It didn't sell, and it didn't sell, and it didn't sell. It sold a year later for 189,000, which honestly, if you go back and look, okay, if you go back and look, the investor owed us all as a total 168. Okay, the 150 we all put in plus the 18 that would have covered the 12% interest that she promised us. Okay, that's 168. At 189, she still would have had pretty good money, a pretty good profit. That's still $21,000. Now, if you had priced it that in the first place, all right, if she had priced it that in the first place, October to May, she made $20,000. It's nothing to, it's not a whole lot, but it's a lot better than most people were getting in the market back then. Rinse and repeat, you still have a $40,000 to $60,000 year. That's not too shabby for 3 properties. So, it could have been okay, but it wasn't okay. And she took off with our money. And I thought to myself, you know what? I can do this. I can be the person who puts together people's money and goes and buys the property. And then I ended up finding properties where I didn't have to do that. Okay. So flipping can be a very good, a lucrative thing, but you want to make sure that if you're flipping, you either fund it all yourself or oops, let me put back on me. If you're going to do flipping, it can be very lucrative, but you want to understand the cost. You want to understand your carrying costs. You want to understand who you're working with, who's funding your deal. And if you're not funding it yourself out of pocket, you want to make sure that the terms are very clear and that your recourse is very clear. Okay. And so the next thing we're going to talk about foreclosure consulting. This one's near and dear to me because the actual first money that I actually made in in real estate investing, let me say that the first actual money I made in real estate investing was actually through foreclosure consulting. I took a class from a gentleman named Jim Booth, who was flying under the banner of Sherman Ragland's Real Investors way back in the day. And it served me well for quite some time. The way that foreclosures and foreclosure consulting works is if the lender's not getting paid, they can foreclose on the property. What foreclosing means, they force the sale of the property. Their hope is they force the sale of the property, get their money back, and take their money and put it into something else to make more money. There are 3 phases of foreclosure profit that we'll talk about. And we have a class on this coming up later in the year, so I'm not going to give all the details on it, all right? But there's the 3 phases I want you to be aware of. Your pre-foreclosure phase is when you have distressed sellers. That means they're not paying their bills, but the bank hasn't taken action to actually schedule an auction yet, okay? Or they may have taken the action, but they haven't made it to the auction yet. So in that phase is usually the highest degree of profit. It's also the most fickle and hardest to pin down distressed sellers to actually get them to sell you the property, right? That's phase 1. The next phase is the auction where cash is king. And the phase after that is called REO. Because what happens sometimes when it comes to your foreclosures is that the bank takes the property to auction. They're trying to sell it to get their loan back, their mortgage back, okay? Or an investor who bought the tax lien forecloses. They want their tax lien money and their interest back, or they want the property. But either way, which one they get depends on the bank. Let's use the example of the bank, okay? Let's use the example of the bank. The bank foreclosed because they're not paying their mortgage. They take it to the auction, and the house has a mortgage of like 200,000. But the bank takes it to auction, and now they can only get at the auction 50,000 because people aren't willing to pay more because the market has dropped and things and prices have dropped, okay? Where I live, for a while, for about the last 2 years, the properties had gone down like 25%, and now they're starting to climb back up again. I was so excited. I was so excited when I saw property values drop, and I was hoping they would drop all the way back down, but nope, nope. Uh, anyway, maybe the properties drop. We have a lot of neighborhoods where properties were overvalued, and when the market does a correction, those overvalues, the price drops, and so the bank's like, well, I don't want to sell this property for 50,000. I need my 200,000. So what does the bank do? The bank buys the property at the auction, and they buy it at the auction. So now they can legally resell that property and try to get more of their money back. Okay. And so when we do the foreclosure class, we will talk about how the banks have a particular strike line of how long they hold the property versus how much they're willing to discount it. But when those first early days, they're not discounting it that much. They want their mortgage money back, and their insurance company expects them to go and get their mortgage money back. All right. And so they'll take that property back. It becomes real estate owned, REO. That means it's real estate owned by the bank. Okay. One of the one of the issues with foreclosures is a lot of people advertise to homeowners who are in pre-foreclosure and tell them they can help them save the house, stay in your home, avoid foreclosure, prevent foreclosure. And what they're really doing is stealing the house right out from underneath the homeowner. The homeowner thinks they're staying, and as soon as they sign on that dotted line, the investor kicks them out. And so a lot of states have enacted protective laws which say if you market yourself as a foreclosure consultant, you cannot buy the property. That's how the Maryland Association of Professional Foreclosure Consultants came to be. I was their founding treasurer, and it was one of those things where, like, look, now the law came out that said if you call yourself a foreclosure consultant, you can't buy the house. Well, now we have a foreclosure consultant who represents legal distance between the investor and the homeowner. So maybe your state does or does not have similar laws, but whether your state has those laws or doesn't, you can market yourself as a foreclosure consultant, legit try to help them to avoid foreclosure. And if they can't avoid foreclosure, then send them on to another investor who can buy the property. And then you get compensated not by the homeowner who's broke, but your foreclosure consulting fee is paid by the investor who ultimately buys the property. Okay. Because not only, now here's what you're doing for that investor. You say, well, why would the investor pay me? Because you have identified a property where their sellers are motivated, and you have already prepped and primed the sellers by trying to work with them to keep their house so that they understand that they need to move and they need to move in a hurry. You have already kind of prepped that. A lot of people who are facing foreclosure, they don't want to accept that tomorrow I'm going to lose my house. So the fact that you've done that heavy lifting for the investor, you know, preventing them from going to the sale, that investor's got to put up a whole lot of money before the sale. And they're not going to do that until that homeowner has signed that this is going to be your house, that you're selling this house. Okay. And so you play a crucial role for investors who are interested in that kind of thing. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is short sales. This used to be done more by individuals that I know. Now I see it being done more by realtors who are helping investors or other even retail buyers. But what a short sale basically at its core is you have a property that's worth one amount, but nobody can sell it for that high. So what short sales does is you're convincing the lender to short the value of the property and take less than the value of the property in order to buy the house. And I did misspeak when I was talking about foreclosures. When I was talking about the insurance strike line, that was actually something we will cover when we talk about short sales, not when we talk about foreclosures, because that doesn't matter for the foreclosure like it does for the short sale. With the short sale, you're like, hey, You want 200,000 for this house, but the market says it's only worth 100. So I'm going to offer you 50 because of all this repairs. And that first month, the bank's going to be like, nope, nope. But over time, the amount of the insurance rules and however it plays out, I'm not a banker, I don't pretend to be. But over time, the way it plays out is the bank can legally accept, or insurance compliance accept, less and less and less and less in that house. And if you keep making your offers and nobody else buys the house out from under you, you eventually meet that sweet spot where what you're willing to pay matches what they're able to take, and then you get it and you create equity. You effectively create equity. Okay. Sometimes they will do it even if they haven't hit that. Oh, I need to put the slide back on. Sometimes they will do that even if they haven't hit that, just to avoid the hassle and expense of foreclosure. Okay. But with the short sale, there are so many times I have seen short sales advertised in the MLS, and you look at it, you're like, that is not a deal. So remember, as an investor, make your money when you buy. All right. Landlording is something we're mostly familiar with. That's when you're renting the property out to someone else. That could be residential properties, that could be commercial properties, it could be land, it could be all kinds of things, you know. Landlording, I think, is very, very lucrative. I think it's one of the ways to provide win-win solutions. I think landlording, honestly, I think landlording is a way to elevate your community while also building wealth, because by providing quality, affordable housing for people who are trying to elevate their lives, you have now entered into their life energy of trying to elevate and to build wealth and change their family's financial tree. And so I think I already took it to work. I mean, took it to my office, but Mr. Landlord has a fantastic class on treating your tenants like five-star tenant program. I think that's what we called ours. I think his is 4-star, 5-star, whatever it is. We got that from him. And basically, this isn't. We're not slumlords up in here. You know, we're not gonna. You know, I had a Section 8 coordinator. I don't know what they call it right now. I think it's voucher program. We had a Section 8 coordinator years ago. She came through one of my properties and she was like, "Yeah, you're gonna need to put in granite countertops, and you're gonna need to replace these cabinets, and you're gonna need to get stainless steel appliances." And I was like, "Lady, look, I am not putting more into this property than I have in my own house. So I guess I'm not qualified for your program." But we ended up putting a wonderful, wonderful family in there, and they've been there forever. Forever. They've been there for like 9, 10, 11 years. Okay. So landlording, I think, is a wonderful way to help elevate the quality of life and also put money in your pocket and change both your family's financial tree. And by treating people right and providing them a pathway to home ownership, then you are also helping change their family's financial tree. All right, let me get something to drink real quick here. All right. I don't think we have a landlording class. Let me go back and look at the agenda. I don't think we have a landlording class this year. Nope, we don't have a landlording class this year. So let me just hang on this for just a tiny little bit. Okay. Not forever. Oops, wrong one. Wrong one. If you are interested in being a landlord and you are able to fill a unique niche, you can usually command higher rents. Okay. Most of my properties have pet damage, and there are certain breeds that my insurance will not allow, but that's not necessarily all the large breeds, and it's not necessarily all kinds of animals. Okay. And so one of the things that I offer a new tenant is we can restore the property and you can pay the pet deposit and the pet rent to have your pet here, or you can accept the property as is with no more than, a normal level of wear and tear for your pet being there, like, normal wear and tear. If there's a couple more scratches on the windowsill, well, those scratches have been on the windowsill for 20 years and like 3 different tenants. I'm not going to be that mad unless the next one wants it, the next one wants it fixed. Their pet fee actually goes into fixing it. you know, they're, or if they do, but then I had one that said they had a cat and they were going to keep the cat in the garage. Now, When I had this tenant, I did not know that there is not such a thing as I will keep the cat in the garage. I did not know that one simply does not keep the cat in the garage because cats think that they are the boss of you. All right. And so they said they were going to keep the cat in the garage. I agreed to let them keep the cat in the garage. I have a cat allergy, I know now. So that's, that's kind of important to me that people be honest. But that cat urinated on the carpet and damaged the carpet. And even though it was in a closet, and they're like, it's just in the closet. Like, it's in the closet, but every time that somebody opens up that closet, they're going to see the stain and know that somebody peed here. So your security deposit is going to go towards replacing this piece of carpet, you know? But for the most part, I find that pets are a really good niche for landlording because a lot of people don't accept pets. And so if you have a property that's already pet damaged, that might be something you consider. Other niches you might consider could be things like assisted living, home health, or like I mentioned in the new construction, I know several people who've done very well with corporate housing. Okay. Uh, People groups I've seen that is starting to fall out of favor and in some markets is not legal. So you have to tread carefully there and you have to make sure what you're doing is legal. Some places are converting to short term rentals. I probably, but that's not, in my opinion, a short term rental isn't the same as being a landlord. Okay. A landlord is like a longer term or mid term rental. Okay. All right. This is one that I want to bring out because I'm seeing this a lot more and more with some of my clients that are coming to me. They already have a couple properties and they want to leverage the properties. The properties aren't profiting them like they should. And when we start digging into their financials, one of the things that we find is that they have a property, they've got appropriately priced rent. However, the repairs are eating them alive. And a lot of times when we're a new investor, we have something go wrong with the water heater. So we call the plumber out of the phone book or out of the Google search, and they come and they give us retail prices. What you really want to do is you want to connect with investor friendly trades through your local real estate investment group because they will provide you a better price. And sometimes they will provide you with some cost savings strategies that aren't necessarily as important for somebody who is a retail homeowner. Okay. So I do try to make sure that all of my rental properties look like something I would be willing to rent myself, even if I wouldn't rent in that particular neighborhood. Okay. However, that doesn't mean that it needs to have the super amazing Moen bronze multifunction thing. And in fact, I, as an early investor, several times had people come to me and tell me, other investors, when I would bring them out, several times I had other investors tell me, you need to take that out and take this out and take that out. They're just going to tear this up. It's just going to be a liability for you. And it's not going to be profitable. It's going to be one more thing that you have to maintain. Because in some states, if you put it in there, you got to maintain it. Okay. So you want to be aware of that. My absolute favorite reference for landlording is MrLandlord.com. Bigger Pockets is also good. I like the advice on Bigger Pockets, except for the leveraging debt to acquire properties. That's going to be my thing for any real estate site out there. I'm probably going to love it unless they talk about that. I'm going to love it despite the fact that they talk about that. But there's a lot of them out there that are kind of scammy, but these two are very good. I do want to make a comment about manager. A lot of people come to me and they say, "Oh, well, I'm just going to hire a property manager." Look, you still have to manage the manager. I had a property manager one time. This was ridiculous. I read their terms and their lease and what their operating is, and when they don't pay the rent, they're going to pay or quit notice the very next day. 5 days later, they file. They expect that when you do that once, you won't ever have to do it again. I'm like, yes, I like all of this. I like all this. I had a tenant that didn't pay for like 3 months, and the guy finally filed for eviction, but then never went to collect once judged in our favor. And I was like, what is the deal? Now, I'm deployed at the time, right? I'm in the desert. trying to figure out what's going on because I need this money because this was the one property that I had the loan on for so long. I need this money to pay this note. And and so I finally get to come back to the States and we come into Baltimore, right? So before I get back to Louisiana, I take some time, it wasn't much time, but I take some time to drive down to where this was. And I'm not going to tell you how I found out his home address. I probably shouldn't have found out his home address, but apparently I went to the right place at the right time where there's somebody who in that place, that business establishment that had an opportunity to know. It was like, yeah, other people have been complaining about him too. Here's his address. I literally staked their house waiting for them to come home. I want my keys. And I would call and I would leave messages and I would leave email like, I'm back in country. If you're not going to help me collect this money, at least give me my keys and help me get these people out of here because I need to re-rent this property. And I sat there all day, y'all. I had my snacks, I had my drinks, I had my reading books. Back then I was carrying physical books with me. Y'all, I never saw them. I saw lights on and out of the house. No one would ever answer the door, and I never saw anybody drive up. But I tell you what, by the time I got back to Louisiana, I had my keys and a note saying that the renters will be moved out, blah, blah, blah date. So, it turned out of all the crazy things, it turned out that my tenants had a business and they hired the sister of my property manager. And so because they hired the sister of the property manager was lenient on them and he didn't want to do anything to jeopardize. I guess she'd gone through a divorce or an abuse situation or some kind of situation. And my heartstrings care. They really do care. I really do care. I want the best for her, but you got my money and you owe me my money. And I want her to get all the help. I'm gonna pray for her, and I want her to have all the success. I know what it's like to be abused. I know what it's like to sleep in my car. I know all those things. But at the end of the day, you owe me that money. And I wasn't going to let him off the hook for owing me that money. Now, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. Somebody goes out of business. There's just not so much more you can do about it to get money if they don't have any. But I'm saying that to say you have to manage the manager. Don't think that you're going to have a passive investment and it's just going to throw you money every month and you're not going to have to do anything. That's not how real estate works. Okay. Unless you are a private lender. Now, this is a category of things I'm not going to talk about it real much because this really makes me sad. So I came up with this back when I came up with I should take it off. I'm not going to take it off because it's already on my trademark slide. And I came up with this back when I thought that real estate debt was good debt, and you can still use the process. There's nothing wrong with the process. I just don't think we should rack up a whole lot of debt. But what leapfrogging is it takes advantage of the tax and the financial codes that allow you to get a new residential loan every 2 years. And it allows you to sell a property that you used as an investment, but not have to pay capital gains tax on it if you lived in it as your personal residence for 2 out of the last 5 years. And so the concept was I had seen a lot of ladies do this where they bought a house, they lived in it and fixed it up, for however long it took them to live in it and fix it up. And usually they would fix it up before the 2 years, but for the tax purposes, they would stay there for at least 2 years, save their money, and then go get the next property and save their money and oh, I should just rewrite the book. I should just rewrite the book and take the debt out of it. People are like, how come I can't buy that? How come I can't buy this book? Because I took it down. Because I was embarrassed. Because I wrote a book on debt. Because the premise was get your residential loan, be there for 2 years, get you another residential loan. Because at the time, none of us were going to be able to afford to buy a house in cash, and we didn't even believe that it was possible. And that's why I'm really glad that you're here because when you come to these debt-free real estate classes, then you'll learn that it really is possible. But when you don't think it's possible, and nobody in your life that you've ever met has been able to buy a house in cash, you don't even know to look for those options. You don't even know to expect that that could possibly happen for you because it's so far out of your expectations. It doesn't even bubble up into your awareness. Okay. And so So yeah, that's what leapfrogging is. You're going from place to place to place. You fix it up while you're living there, and you either sell it or rent it out, get the next one, sell it or rent it out, get the next one. But the trick is, and this is one of the things that I really, really emphasize, the trick is when you are building that kind of a business, you only take the bare minimum out of it that you need to live on, and you are paying off all the previous properties. Because by paying them off, once you get through a phase of like 10 or so years, you've got 5 properties now. And if 4 of them are paid off and you're living in the last one, and they're putting in, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 of rent, depending on where you live, you don't have to worry anymore. Your bills are paid. I don't know too many people in too many markets that if you've already got your main house, can't live off of $10,000 a month. And if you've got $10,000 a month coming in, now, look, I know some people who live in LA or some people who live in not Arlington. What's the other one? Is it Arlington, Virginia? You know, Boston. Yeah, yeah, okay. But 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 for most of us, for a lot of people watching me, some of you in these high cost dollar market areas, you're going to be shocked. But for a lot of people watching me, your mortgage is like 170, 250. If you've got $10,000 a month coming in, all your house is paid off in 2 years. And then that's something that nobody can take away from you unless you don't pay your taxes. And you can save up enough to pay your taxes. And we talk about strategies to make sure you can keep paying them when you get to be elderly, but you can pay off your taxes in that situation. Okay. So anyway, that's leapfrogging. Let's move on. Let's move on. Okay. So this is creative financing strategies. Creative financing strategies. We have a whole class on these, so I'm not going to do as much on them right now. But these are basically anything where you're buying the property and you're not funding it through the bank or through your own pocket. So if you're not paying in cash or you're not funding through the bank, then any other solution you can come up with is a creative financing solution. And the reason that these solutions work is because everybody doesn't always care about the same thing. Okay. Some people, some investors, they care about the dollar amount. Some investors, they care, or some sellers, they care about monthly income. Some care about being free of the headache of the house. Okay. Let me say that again. I want to make sure I said that right. Okay. So some homeowners, they want to sell their property and they just want the money and run, and they don't want to ever think about that house again, right? Others want monthly income. So they're willing to do some kind of special terms with you, maybe owner finance a property with you, right? Others, they just don't want the headache of maintaining the property or dealing with tenants and toilets, okay? So they may not be willing to sell you the property right away, but they might be willing to let you control it for a little while. Wow. Or they might let you control the property, but then give you an option to buy it later. Okay. So there's all kinds of various things. And I am going to just very quickly summarize lease option, rent to own, land contract, which is the same as owner financing. Okay. And then subject to, sub two, which is another one of my favorite ways to buy right now. Okay. We're going to talk about those, but those are not the only creative financing strategies out there. It's really any agreement that you and a seller come to can be a creative financing strategy, okay? So really quick, I'm going to cover these. Lease option, rent to own, things like that. Rent to own is interesting. Usually it's couched in the form of a lease option, or the rent to own is a much significantly higher rent than you would pay if you weren't renting to own it. And the as a okay, as your resident financial planner, I'm not a big fan of you renting to own something. I'd rather you buy something owner finance where they put you on the deed. As the investor who doesn't want to have to put you on the deed till I know that you're actually going to buy this house, because I don't want to have to foreclose later when you don't pay your mortgage because you're not used to paying the mortgage and doing all your maintenance. As the investor, I kind of want you to rent to own. So there's a little bit of which way, which way, which way, and the answer is it depends. Okay, so just so you know, there's there's different ways to do things. It's all about what matters for your situation. But one that I like as an investor, but I warn you about as a financial planner, is the lease option. In fact, it's become such an issue that in Texas, you can't have a lease option deal last more than 6 months before you need to put them on the deed. Okay. So you either you either do 6 month leases or 179-day leases, or you put them on and do a owner financed. Okay, but the basically what it is a lease option is you are paying a fee for the right to buy that property later. Okay, so I am paying $100,000 for this house. Oh, I can't afford it. I can't get the financing together. My credit is destroyed because I'm still tied to my ex-husband and he still won't pay his bills. I shouldn't say that out loud. I don't know if he's not paying his bills anymore. I know I still get bill collector calls from him. That doesn't mean he's not paying his bills. I've been told I should stop saying bad things about my ex-husband. Oopsie. Okay. Somebody else is tied to their ex-husband who doesn't pay their bills, and she wants to buy this $100,000 house, but she can't buy this $100,000 house because he don't pay his bills, and she's still on those loans. And so she strikes a deal with the seller of the house. I will give you $10,000 today if you will let me buy this house for $100,000 in 3 years. That's probably not realistic because if she can't afford to, if she can't get a loan, she probably don't have $10,000. But let's call it $1,000. I'm going to give you $1,000 today for the right to buy this house later at a specific price. The good thing for the person who's doing the buying is you know what you're going to pay later. And the good thing for the person who's doing the selling is you know you're going to be able to sell this later for this price. Now, the person the person who is buying the property might decide they don't want to buy at that price. Okay. That's a whole nother issue of breaking that contract, but all they lose is the option fee. So if you're an investor looking to get started and you can't seem to afford a property, paying a small option fee to allow you to control that property for a year and then close later on once you get your ducks more in a row, that could be a wonderful thing for you and the property owner. Similarly, you can use that strategy to sell that house, quote unquote, sell that house to somebody else. So this is a very powerful strategy, but it's also been used in a very highly predatory component, which is why so many states have rules against it now. All right. We're going to talk more about these 4 strategies when we do our creative financing class, but just to kind of get through it, okay, just so you have an idea. You know, when you hear something the first time, this is actually a scientific fact when it comes to learning. If I give it to you now and you hear it again in 2 months, and then we do the deep dive, you're actually going to learn more from the deep dive than you would have if I hadn't said anything about it now and you didn't also hear it again in like 2 months or however often you hear about it. But the fact that we're talking about it today, when you come to the deep dive, your subconscious is going to have been nugging on it for a couple months. And so then you're going to be more understanding, more receptive, more attuned to the concepts that we're talking about. All right. So I talked about the lease option, the rent to own as well. Land contract is the same as owner financing. That's where I have a property I'm selling to you and I'm going to be the bank. That's all this really is. Okay. If you are doing a deal like this, I highly recommend that you work with the title company to make sure that you are having the best results so that you have everything buttoned down and people can't flim flam you. We'll talk more about that when we have the class on creative financing. Subject to is really cool. There's some subject to deals that got away, and I was talking with my husband about one. This would have been in March. It would have been paid off, and it was like a $500,000 property. It would have been paid off, and it would have been nice to have had. But they kept trying to change the deal on us, and we finally just walked away. But at the start, it was 4 years left on their payments. Well, then the husband got sick. And so then the wife was like, well, I don't want you to just take over the loan. I want you to give me all the money for it. And I'm like, I'm not giving you all the money for it. I wish now I had the money to give them because I would have made so much money off that property. But some things are just not for what you need in the moment in your life. But yeah, we were looking at that. What subject to is basically you're taking over the loan. So they have a property, they've got a loan on it. Whether they usually they can't sell it for what it's worth. Okay. And that's why they just want somebody to take it over. The value for you is if they've been paying on it for like 5 to 10 years, they may not have a whole lot of equity in it. But here's the thing that they do have, even if they don't have a lot of equity, because the first, what, 10 or so years that you're paying on a mortgage, you're basically paying interest. You get very little actual equity out of those mortgage payments, right? But if you come in and take over at year 10, and now there's 20 years left on that loan. Well, now you're taking over that loan and you're building an accelerated amount of equity from what you would have had if you bought it outright. Okay. Some of you might say, well, JJ, why would you take over somebody else's loans when you don't like debt? I'm not taking the debt. I'm taking over the payments of their debt. In a sense, I am helping rid the world of debt because they can't make the payments. Maybe they moved away and the military sent them somewhere else, or they got another job, or they went home to take care of their ailing mother and they can't make the payments anymore. I'm putting somebody in there who can make the payments. I am reducing their debt load and helping them improve their credit. And I am also making a profit through helping others. I like the win-win-win. I'll do that deal all day long. What I won't do is an assumable loan where I take the loan from your name and put it in my name. And usually, with some good management, you can take those properties with the subject to, and you can refinance them, or you can, this is what I like to do, y'all. You sell that property owner financed to the tenant or the new homeowner that you put in there. And so you own it based off of their loan. Now you're selling it to somebody else on an owner finance. They're paying it, and then they can refi. Once they get in there, it's easier. This is a trick that a lot of people use. Once you get in there as owner financed and you make the first year of payments, now it's easier for you to refinance that loan later than to go to the bank and get a whole new loan. And so it's an excellent strategy to create win-win-win solutions to help elevate people and empower people who maybe otherwise wouldn't have been able to get a house. And so then now, once they refinance and get the loan completely in their name, you've got your money, the original homeowner gets their money paid off, and everybody's happy. It's a great strategy. Great strategy. All right. All righty. So that was creative financing strategies. And we've got a whole lesson on those. We've got a whole lesson on those that we'll be doing. Oh, I don't remember when. I don't want to flip back through all of them, but we do have a whole lesson on those coming up later this year. Okay. Let me see if I can do it without messing up the slide. Y'all still see commercial? Okay, so creative financing is in June. Okay, commercial real estate is going to be in August. So we're going to talk in August. We're going to talk about retail buildings, office buildings, warehouses, all that kind of stuff. Anything that's not where people live is considered commercial. And where people live is considered commercial if it's more than 4 units. Okay, so like if you have a 8-plex, some fourplexes in certain jurisdictions are zoned commercial, but some floorplexes are still considered residential. And the difference that makes, it makes a difference in your loan that you can get. It makes a difference, like if you're going to live in one and rent out the other 3. It also makes a difference in your tax treatment, and it makes a difference in your fees and things that you have for your county. Okay, so commercial is a great thing to invest in because commercial properties usually represent a higher amount of profit, and you can actually pass on to your tenants a lot of higher costs. Like I'm looking at moving into a particular building for my ministry, and I didn't want to scare the landlord away, but I wanted to ask, do we have to pay for the do we have to pay our share of the taxes and the common area maintenance and all those things? And I'm like, I want to ask, but you know what? I don't want to put the idea in his mind because the prices are pretty reasonable and I want them to stay that way. One of the great things about commercial is you have Wait, did I accidentally go too far on my slide? I did. I went too far on my slide. Hold on. Go back. Okay. One of the great things about commercial is because it's usually a representative of the business. Anything other than your apartments is usually a representative of somebody's business. They're renting from you for their business. They're renting from you for their to store their stuff or things like that. They have a higher incentive to protect the property, and they don't expect you to show up at 2 in the morning to fix their toilet, right? You can pass on more of the costs to the tenants. So that's a great thing from an investor standpoint. The downside of commercial is costs more to get in the game, and you can't always just hire Bubba to come fix the things that go wrong. You got to actually make sure stuff is done to code depending on where you live, okay? But if you can use the property, or if you've got the pocketbook or the access, commercial can be a really great deal for you, okay? I love apartments as well. There's a lot of small apartments out there that you can actually find a deal on driving for dollars. And so when we talk about commercial, we'll spend some time on this. When we talk about driving for dollars, we'll also spend some time on this and how you can encourage landlords who maybe they've had their small apartment building for like 19, 18 years. Well, they're about to run out of tax breaks on it. And so you can help them 1031 exchange into another property, and it can benefit you, you know. Their old property can benefit you. I like the win-win-win, okay? Now, land is another one that a lot of people like, especially out here in Texas, because guess what? There's plenty of land right now. It's not always in the places you want it, but there's plenty of it and they're not making more. And the land is getting smaller and smaller. People are buying and buying and buying up land. People are coming into, especially in Texas, people are coming in from out of state and out of country and buying land. And so if you can buy some land, I encourage you to buy some good land. Just understand that land can be very risky because you don't really get a whole lot of it doesn't appreciate very fast. It's hard to sell land, and you don't get a whole lot of tax benefit because you're not depreciating an investment asset, okay? And so the thing with land, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm just going to make payments on this because it'll pay off one day," but you really don't know that. Now, there are some things you can do with land. There are absolutely some things you can do with land to help you profit, have more profit, you know. One of the things you can do with land is when you're looking at buying a plot of land, you can go research what the master plan is from that county or that parish or that jurisdiction. Usually they will put together some kind of master plan of what they intend to do with their land. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about driving for dollars and wholesaling, because big part of those lessons is the research. And we'll talk about an example of when we almost spent $1 million on land that would have only been worth about 500,000 due to the plans that that city had coming for it. So you can profit from land in a lot of different ways. You know, you even if you don't, even if you're going to use it for something else later, you can let something squat on it. You know, you can rent it out for people to store their boats and things like that, you know. But remember, whatever you're going to do with the land, unless this is a piece of property that you just adore and you want to, you want to retire and build your house on it after the fact, please make your money when you buy. And even if you intend to move out to that land one day, please do not go in exorbitant debt for this land. There, that you will always be able to find something else. At least in this country right now, you will always be able to find something else. I can't speak from 20 years from now. I don't know if there's going to be something else to find, but in this country right now, there are still great pieces of land that are available in almost every market. Okay. Maybe not LA, and I didn't mean that from the perspective of the fires. I was just thinking about the last time that I had a speaking engagement in LA. Like you could drive, and I was in Inglewood. You could drive an hour in each direction and never find a green space to take a nap. That made me sad. That actually made me really, really sad. Like, wait a second, where do the kids go to play? You know? Anywho, that's land. All righty. Private lending, you might remember, wait, let me make sure you see the slide. Okay. Private lending, you might remember, was on the time money continuum twice because there's different ways to do private lending. A lot of times when we think about private lending, we think about the lower dollar amounts where maybe one or maybe two investors or sometimes a pool of investors will get together and put their money on a property, and then that property gets renovated by somebody, or becomes an investment asset from somebody. You can also have the how do I want to say that? Hard money lenders and people who are going to be your private mortgages. So, like, you have one private lender for the entire property. Okay. So that could be the high dollar amounts. So that's why I put it on my time money continuum twice. Okay. And so I think I already answered this question of, talking about private lending. I'm a more of a fan of joint venturing where we're kind of all in this together. We win together, we lose together, rather than I owe you an X amount of interest for giving me this money to work with. I really prefer a different approach to that than a debt approach. But I feel like if I'm going to teach you real estate, your education is not complete if you don't understand private lending and hard money lending and things like that. And so I'm not going to have you go out into the world and fly with your real estate wings and not know that. It's like clipping your wings, because you need to understand how things work, because that way you can show up well when you go to these real estate meetings. You can know what you're talking about, know what they're talking about, and be able to play on that even playing field and to take your seat at the table. Okay. All right. The next one is note buying. This, I really thought that this year I'd be ready to venture into this. I'm not. I've taken a class on it from one of our local real estate investors who does these primarily. This is like her only thing that she does anymore. And I'm very excited about the thought of note buying. I don't want people taking debt. Okay. But if somebody is in a world of hurt, I like the idea of being able to buy their debt at a discount and then restructure it so that they win and I win. Like, for example, let me take a sip of water real quick. Oh, that's not water. That's electrolytes. So let me give an example. Like, let's say you come across this neighborhood and you've got a single mom struggling to make her mortgage at $1,000 a month, and and she owes 100,000. So I'm using very round, easy numbers when I give these examples, right? So she owes 100,000 on her house, and she has a mortgage of $1,000 a month, and she's struggling to make it. And let's say the bank's like, I'll sell you this mortgage for $20,000. So it's a mortgage for $20,000 that's worth 100,000 if the person who owes it is going to actually pay it. You and I both know she's not paying it. That's why it's underperforming. That's why they're trying to get rid of it. But what you and I also know is that she may not be able to keep affording that $1,000 a month, but maybe she can afford 750 a month, or maybe she can afford 500 a month. And now I can restructure that in a new 30-year note that ultimately makes me way more than the 20 that I just plunked down. So in the example of it being even 500 a month, that's 6,000 a year. In 3.5 years, you've made your money back. Now, if you take that up higher, it's even better. But I mean, just think about, sometimes I already know if one of my mentors watches this, he's going to come back at me and be like, JJ, make the most money. I want to make the most money, but I also want to make money while having a heart. I don't want to lose money. Don't you try and tug on my heartstrings and get me to lose money because of my heart. But when I can make money and make a difference, that's what I'm going to choose to do. And if I can take that single mom and give her 250 extra dollars of breathing room, and reassure her that she doesn't need to worry about all the past fees and everything. She's got a new slate, and she's able to just go out there and do that 30-year mortgage. Let me just multiply it out here. 750 times 12. Okay, that's $9,000 a year. In 2 years and a couple months, I've got all my money back, right? Now you times that by 30 years, $270,000. What? You do realize that when you have a mortgage at a higher interest rate, then the higher the interest rate, the worse it gets. But when you have a mortgage for $100,000 and you take 30 years to pay it off, you're not only paying $100,000. You're paying 250 back, or if you have a higher interest rate, you're paying 300 back. You're paying a lot more back. That's why it's important to pay your house off earlier, because that's money that can be going to other parts of your future. Okay. But yeah, am I going to help the single mom and also help myself to $210,000 of her money? It's a win-win. She's getting a win. I'm getting a win. She's getting a property that by the time she finishes paying it off might be worth $500,000. And I'm getting a little profit I'm getting a nice little profit into my portfolio. It's a win-win. And I love the win-win-wins. All right. All righty. Let's go on. I think we're almost done here. Okay. Deal making. I love that. I love the win-win-win. I just said that. I love bringing people together for their profit in a way that profits me. And so it's always about the numbers. If the numbers work, the property will sell. Okay. And so this is why it's really important to build relationships, not just relationships with um, lenders and people on your street, but also other investors who can help you, and also people that might be an end buyer to some of the deals that you come across that you're not ready or willing to buy yourself. And so you're going to find that as you progress in real estate investing, that your secret weapon is actually going to be other investors. Okay. Other investors are going to be your secret weapon. So, our number one rule of real estate is to make our money when we buy. Our secret weapon that helps us do that is other investors. So, you want to get to know other local investors, especially those that are actually doing the deal. So, when we do our wholesale 101 lesson, which is next month, we're actually going to go through how do you find these power players and what are the magic words you say to them that will let them feel comfortable giving you their phone number and their email so that you can work with them on real estate deals in the future. That'll be in our Friday. That will be in our February class, Wholesaling 101. All right. Ooh, I can't wait. It's going to be good. All right. All right. I think we're rounding the corner here. I just want to let you know that it is never, ever, ever too late. I know sometimes many of us, as you're my age or maybe a little older, you're looking back over your life, you're looking back over your career, and you're like, well, I should have done this and I should have done that. Yes, there is the advantage of youth. They have more time, energy, and strength than some of us do. But one thing that those of us who are more mature have, we have experience, we have increased networks and relationships, and most of all, we have the judgment and the experience, the judgment that only comes from having lived a little. And so, with that, we are able to make these deals happen. And we usually can make better deals happen faster than if we were just the young buck starting out. Okay. So, I want to encourage you, it's never too late. I know people who become financially independent with real estate in as little as 3 years. Now, they may not have started with almost $1 million of debt like I did. It took me a lot longer because I started off with a bigger hole to climb out of. All right. But I know people who've done it, and you can too. Now, if you have enjoyed this presentation tonight, I hope that you will help our charity partner, Global Youth Initiative of Northwest Louisiana and Global Youth Initiative of Erath County. These are both initiatives from John Maxwell's leadership company, and they're executed by local John Maxwell reps like myself. And so we do a lot of things to help kids become confident kids and global leaders. If you would like to bring a Global Youth Initiative event to your school, your kids' organization, your youth group, anything like that, reach out to me and we can get that on the calendar. There's only a few weeks in October and only a few weeks in April. So we have very limited availability, but if whatever I can do, I will do. And just so you know, most of the activities that we do for Global Youth Initiative can be adapted for low literacy teens. We don't want anybody to be embarrassed when they come. We want them to be uplifted and encouraged and edified and so they'll know that they are somebody and that somebody actually does care about them. Okay. Any donation of any size helps us out. That's at PayPal, Cash App, Venmo as well. I need to update the slides. That's at Queen of Cash Flow. You can do that there. And we appreciate you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. All righty. It is time for questions. And I'm looking at the comments and I love these comments. Y'all are the best. Let me see if I can do the Ask JJC and see if we have any questions there. If not, we're going to wrap it up because, oh my goodness, it is, well, it's past everybody else in my family's bedtime. So I guess I missed hanging out with them. But let's see what we've got today. Okay. Let's see. Huh. Oh, thank you. Okay, well, I don't have any questions, but I want to appreciate those of you who have the last two comments there. They were so sweet. I appreciate that. Thank you for being, it's encouraging. It's encouraging. Everybody wants to know that what they're doing makes a difference. And when you let me know that what I'm doing makes a difference, it helps me to be able to do more of it. And it helps me to carry through the times when I may not always feel like I'm making a difference. But I'm so happy to see that I am making a difference. And really, at the end of the day, you're the one making the difference because you're the one that's investing your time into yourself. And one of the things that I always feel honored by is when people spend their time with me because your time is your most precious resource and you could be spending it anywhere. And I hope that this lesson tonight has been uplifting and encouraging for you to let you know that you can absolutely do it. You can find a way to win with real estate. Now, I was about to say goodbye, but I just realized there must be some slides missing. Hold on, because we didn't talk about being a realtor. We didn't talk about staging houses. What did I miss? Are some of these slides grayed out? Or are they just not here? They are not here. Oh, y'all, I'm so sorry. Okay, real quick. We talked about the investments, okay? There are other ways to make money with real estate. One of those ways is through what we call ancillary services, okay? Another way is what we call professional services. So professional services with real estate, that's going to be things like your realtor, plumber, electrician, carpenter, flooring, roof. All of those are professional services that make their money by serving people who own real estate, okay, or rent real estate or need real estate, because those are all things that happen with the real estate, okay. Your ancillary services are things that the real estate itself doesn't need, but it's can be nice to have. So if you have an apartment complex, somebody can come in and run the laundromat for the apartment complex. So instead of the landlord having to deal with their coin operated machines breaking down all the time, you can come in and manage that. And maybe you can do it better because that's all you do. You go around all the different apartments and you run little coin op laundromats in each of those apartment complexes. Another one would be ATMs. Okay, so an apartment complex or a commercial real estate outlet doesn't have an automatic teller machine. You install one. I took a whole course on how to install an ATM. And then the market crashed, and I ended up in $800,000 in debt. But I still have the course, and even though I'm sure that the dates and the names have been changed to hide the innocent, right? I'm sure it's the same process. But you can be the person that puts it in there. You can be the person that puts a vending machine. You're like, I don't have $30,000 to buy an ATM. Can you go to Sam's Club and buy a $1,500 vending machine? Can you buy those bulk candies from Sam's and stock that bad boy up and turn a profit? That's an ancillary service related to real estate where you can make money off of somebody else's real estate investing without ever even buying the property by keeping your eyes open and your ears alert to the things that people need and the places with which they might need them or at which they might need them. Okay, this time I'm really done. Y'all take care. Have a great night. Thanks for being here with me tonight. I really appreciate you. Y'all take care and be blessed.